Happy Monday morning, Sonder family. It is really good to see you this morning. Welcome. Welcome. We've got a brand new journal to dive into today. I am so excited to welcome you. You have Team Jennifer on the call. My name is Jennifer Ogilvy. I'm in the Dallas, Texas area. And then my co-facilitator is Jennifer Krippner, who is dialing in from Minnesota. She'll be hanging out in the chat. She just popped on to give y'all a wave. And she will be guiding you in the chat, answering any questions you might have along the way, giving us some support. It's good to see all of you. I'm seeing some familiar names in the chat. We're like this little Monday morning bunch. Like on the weekends, folks pick what they can, but we're solid here. So every morning we get to have our coffee time together, and it's just always a privilege to hang out with you. So good morning. If there's anybody logging on to a social for the first time, please put a me in the chat because we do want to welcome you as well as our returning socialers. And you may be watching this on YouTube. And so we're glad that you were able to catch this setup recording on YouTube. Anyhow, welcome, welcome, welcome. There are those community guidelines. I always talk about how special our virtual community is. We really do get to know and love one another and support. We send out those good vibes into the universe for each other. So I love it. Oh, and Erica, so you're usually not here on a Monday morning. We're glad that you took the day off today and you decided to hang out with us. We're on our coffee date. So when we are together, we do remind you about, the spaces we create. And so those reminders will help keep us, keep this space in a good place. Now, we always say you are welcome to just come as you are. If you're not feeling so great today or feeling a little blah, that's okay. Or maybe you're just elated that we're kicking off a new week that's going to lead into this new month. And we love that vibe as well. So we always say, just come as you are and take what you need. Couple of housekeeping announcements. We do have a really cool exclusive coming up this month. Remember, with the exclusive, there is a nominal fee to attend. But this one is going to be, talk about resilience. It really hits with this theme this month about looking back at childhood wounds. Some folks may have some childhoods that are really rough, or maybe just one little weird thing happened at school, but it still kind of lives in your head, right? And so sometimes it pops up. We're going to look at how those early experiences can shape us. And man, I was an early childhood educator and administrator for my whole career. And so there is a whole lot to that stuff that happens early on in life and what that looks like for us later in life, even for older people like me. So I encourage you to maybe think about this. Now, another really fun thing I want to make sure that you are aware of is that we have a new part of the personal coaching. So if you are part of that app, you're going to be seeing it spoken about as the Life Map, kind of a little bit of a new brand on that, but they are adding the vault to this app that you may be a part of. And what's really cool about the vault is you're going to now be able to access all of the old exclusives. They're going to put the exclusives there in the vault so that they are accessible. Those master classes are accessible to our personalized coaching life map participants. So yes, it's a name. No, the vault is not the new Jenny. The vault is just going to be like this, kind of like this folder that's holding all of these really good master classes that you can access through using the app. And we've called it personalized coaching. We're going to start referring to it as the life map. So Mayha's always getting inspired by new ideas. So that's what, if you hear us say life map, that is that. So I think, Julie, that's a really good, or Julie, yeah, Julie, I think that's a really good question. I'm going to assume they will eventually find their way into the vault. I don't know what the timing will be like for that. So we'll see. But if I can remember the next time we have a meeting, I will ask that question. All righty. All right. So there's our housekeeping, and it's a new theme coming right off of the month of bravery, which I love that we had this. Last month, many of us were like, we miss enchantment. We want to go back to that one. But we stuck through bravery. It doesn't go away just because we're changing our journals. And if this was a tough month for you, explore why. How did you grow? And why did it feel tough? And maybe continue to reference your journal, your responses. Maybe there's some journal prompts that you just left blank because you weren't in the headspace. So, of course, keep that for a time when you are feeling a little more like digging into what bravery looks like in your life. But I think it's a really neat theme that we did bravery, and now we're going to dive into that resilience. And y'all have heard me say many times, you have survived the hardest days you've ever had, and you're here today. It wasn't fun, but you're here. And so I think that kind of encompasses that idea of resilience. I did when million years ago when I was in college, I did a lot of research papers on resilience. That was something that just kind of took up a lot of space. I think some of it was self-healing because, my family of origin was really messed up. And so I was very intrigued as I was going through this child development programming to look at what makes people resilient. And so this is a subject that's near and dear to me. Anyhow, so I love that. And I love this graphic, on those tough days when you're going and climbing that mountain, maybe you don't know just how close you are to reaching that. So just hang in there and keep on going. Megan, great question. So we're going to talk about that in a minute, but you can go to either journal. Some folks are very pure in like I'm going to finish September and September and then make the hop over into October. Now with our theme, we are starting like the mind map with our new one. I'm almost always ready to jump into that brand new restart, fresh pages. But it's your call. Now we will do our rosebud thorn reflection in September because we're reflecting over this past week. So I've got, both sets of page numbers are going to be looked at today. So we'll do that mind map. If you are here for the first time, that's our bonus prompt that you get for coming to weekly socials. It's not in the journal, so you'll be invited to find a space to work on that. Rosebud Thorn Reflection, weekly setup pages. And oh my goodness, the quotes are flowing this month. Really great stuff. So I've included some little quotes on most of these pages. If you see something you like, grab it, put it in your journal. Maybe that's if you don't have words for your goals, perhaps a big old quote that's going to guide your week. Drop that in your goals section. So let's start with our mind map for the month. And a little spoiler alert or a little inside tidbit to know is that Jennifer Krippner was responsible for this month's questions. So we each take months to create the questions that we consider for the mind map. So our own Jennifer did this month. So we're looking at exploring quiet yet powerful strengths that live within us. Yes, for sure. Thank you, Jennifer K. Katie did last month's of her bravery, and I got to do enchantment, so that was fun. But when we think about resilience, it's that inner anchor that keeps you steady. And remember when we did bravery, we had that one prompt weekly setup where we talked about the ocean and what does bravery look like when you can think about that ocean imagery? This is that resilience that will anchor you in that ocean. You have all these past challenges that you've survived, and it helps you carry forward the light for yourself and others. So we're going to be taking a look at this new prompt. Now, there will be 4 spaces that you'll want to create. We're going to have 4 prompts. The end of the month, that last week of September, the last setup, we got a little, or September, October, we have a little little theme that might be a little Halloween related. So we're going to do four spaces, and you can do these anywhere. And I gave you a hint. You can trace a credit card or your driver's license or cookie cutters to set up your spaces. I keep a I keep a tuna fish can lid in my desk to draw some of my circles, which you'll see today. And our first week is what helps me feel most grounded, steady, and strong within myself. And so we're expanding on the question about thinking about resilience. It starts with returning to the what centers us. So in when you have moments of stress, and I've got several little graphics to share with you later on in our setup, or uncertainty, what practices, places, or people help you feel like yourself again? Like, who do you need to be around? Where do you need to go? What do you need to do? And so this morning we're looking at grounding anchors in your life. And it says name three, but I started a list and then it keeps growing. So I'm giving you permission to do as much as you need to do. What are those habits that help you stay rooted? And then how can you call on them more intentionally? Where can this show up in your journal and your plan for the week? So I laughed. I said, there's my tuna fish can lids. It's actually, those are not circles. They're my rubber balls that bounce back. And for week one, I started with, thinking about the things that I do to help me feel grounded, those practices that show up. For me, it's doing that five senses mindfulness activity where you stop and then what five things do I see? What four things do I feel? What three things do I hear, etc. This countdown, and it just helps you reset. We did that at a coloring social a couple of months ago. My breathing practices, several that I lean into, sometimes just the box breathing, four, hold four, exhale four, hold four, that repeat. But like at night when I need to calm down, I'll do the inhale for like six, but exhale for eight, that kind of thing to slow things down. Humming and singing is great. My yoga teacher talks about us humming to reset. I go dig in my dirt, go out to the garden, touch the earth, stand barefooted, and then finally move my body. And it depends on if I need to move fast or move slow, depending on what I need. If I'm kind of a little fired up because I feel frustrated, a lot of times a big hard walk just helps me reset. So basically, when we're looking at those kinds of things, we are stimulating our vagus nerve. And so I found this really great graphic on that. That vagus nerve is the one that taps into this parasympathetic stuff that's going on in our brain. And these are ways to tap into that. But there's also places to go and people that maybe calm you, help you reset. Katie shared at her setup this weekend that her therapist calls this a distractions list. What kind of list can you make to distract you from the stressors and the things that are bringing you grief in your life? And so I actually started making a distractions list because my list just has grown more than my response on the mind map. So this was a really great way to get going. And I'm planning to add to this list as we dig into resilience elements. So I've got a little extra time for you this morning as you set up this page and then start sharing in the chat. What is it for you? Because your ideas may actually give somebody like, oh yeah, I forgot. I like to do that too. Cause sometimes it's hard to remember like you're doing all this stuff. One of the things I do, yeah, talking about cleaning is I realized I added this to my distractions list is decluttering surfaces, like just going into my bedroom and straightening up the bedside table and the top of my dresser. And so I think getting rid of that physical clutter also helps me get rid of the mental clutter. Yes, keep sharing and then we'll get on with our setup. Really great work this morning. Thank you for sharing in the chat because my list grew while I wrote down some of the things that you do that I really, oh yeah, that helps me too. So as these things come to you, feel free to keep dropping them in the chat through the morning. We're going to kind of build that little distraction list, that toolbox to help us engage that vagus nerve that will help us, feel resilient, help us do a reset and continue on. So, as you know, every week we do our rosebud thorn reflection as we look backward over the past week, what it brought us, what our lessons were, what we can take into the new week. You're going to find your rosebud thorn reflection on page 50 in September's journal. If you don't want to do September's journal, or maybe you're sitting with October and it's your very first journal, feel free to do this on a blank space. We tend to like to the one that's printed for this week one, we kind of want to save to do our reflection after the week. So of course, the thorns are the things that did not go well. And I got a couple of questions for you to think about, like how could you maybe turn this thorn into a bud? What are the takeaways, the life lessons from those thorns? Sometimes those thorns hang out with us and they don't disappear. They could be health related, which is really tricky. Um, but think about where you could use some more support. And then that puts us into that bud. The bud could be something really big coming down the pipe, but it could also be just new journal, a new blank journal, the potential that's there for us. And then, of course, what went great last week. And so, for say the time to save time, you can read mine if you're interested, but I'm going to go ahead and put on some music while we work on this. And feel free to share in the chat the areas where you would like a little support. Or, can we celebrate with you? Can we just send you some good vibes to help you remember you're not going through this journey alone? Let us know what you need, and then we'll get on with our setup pages. So sorry, I was typing. Um, y Megan, I saw your rosebud thorn, so I don't know if that maybe there was a glitch on your end after it posted. Anyway, but I did see it, so I don't know that there's trouble in the chat, but then you never know what Zoom's doing to us. So happy birthday to those of you who are celebrating birthdays this week. That's exciting. And again, we are reminded that we are a resilient people. And so those thorns, we'll get through them, hopefully. Not hopefully we can get through them a little unscathed, but there's so many things in this world that feel unsettling, which is again one of the reasons I love this community and these times together because it helps me remember there is good in the world because of y'all. So thank you for just being here. Whew, man, yes. Okay. Let's move forward with our weekly setup. And I want to invite you again, if you're finishing up in September or you're going to split the difference with the week and you're going to do the first couple of days in September and then hop over to October, these will be done on pages 52 and 53 for September and 26 and 27 for October. And I loved a couple years ago, I got this Dove chocolate wrapper and I took a picture of it because it was I don't know, it hit. I don't remember what was going on, but don't stop until you're proud. That's got a little message of resilience in it. So I love it. So I like to share this, on the regular of just all the different things you can put in your journal. As you know, you could set your journal up to work for your life. So these spaces can be used just as they are printed, but you can also change things up to work for whatever's going on in your life. So if you are new, or you just like, oh, I never thought of that, or what, and you want to grab a screenshot, feel free to grab a screenshot of this or anything else that you see that you want to incorporate in your journal. But these are a lot of really great ideas for that. And I'll go back through these while you work on page one. So we're going to just kind of look at the whole page, everything that's on here, and then I'll put on some music for you to do. The graphic on the left is a little bit older. I think it's a couple of years old. I believe it was Kimberly, somebody, I think it might have been Kimberly's set up for the first page. But what I wanted to point out to you is how the goals were set up. There was a work goal, a home goal, and a joyfulness goal. And then she's coding the habits and activities that support those goals. So there's a more and less. So like prioritize at work. She needed more filing in the moment and less chaotic stacks of paper. And then some of her tasks, her habits and activities down below, you can see the very first one, she's got a W to represent work, and it's finished one task before starting something new. And she's going to track, but she's also given it like her goal was she's going to put a T if she at least tried to do it. So I kind of liked that setup, and the same thing for the other areas. And then just a little encouraging note to self, and that is a very good practice to add to that distraction list, sitting with your journal and maybe just writing, doing a little brain dump or writing a love note to yourself to reset and tap into that vagus nerve. The one on the right, I just loved it because it just looks kind of spooky and we're entering spooky season. So love the tape usage there. Not going to track the number of goals, just going to kind of track, right? Three major goals. I'm sorry, the habits and activities, just a tracker there. And then the weekly to do. I just thought that was a cute way of setting up that space. So wanted to share that with you. Love that washi tape. Yeah, y'all know I'm a black pen to paper person, so I'm always so impressed with when y'all get artsy with your pages. We're going to start off with how do we want to feel this week? It can be one feeling, it can be a lot of feelings, it can be a sticker when the words don't come. So, yes, those otter stickers are so cute. So I'm going to ask you to think about what you need this week and how you want to feel. I love love the one there's at the bottom. I want to feel open to others' opinions, to people. And I also don't want to assume things. Whoa, that's pretty powerful. So feel free to drop in the chat how you would like to feel this week. What's going to be that guiding thing? It could be the same thing you've had all year or last week or this whole month. Oh, Allison, I'm ready for spooky season 2. I actually put out the pumpkins yesterday, all the silly decor that I have because I was like, I've got to do it. And it was, if y'all remember, it was on my list last week. So I did get it done, kind of the last minute. Sonja wants to feel her blessings. And yeah, I know, Carla, I'm celebrating. Kai says she needs to feel lighter this week. Okay, so that could be a very big influence on how you set up those goals and those to-dos and those habits. Carla says, I'm taking up space this week. I want to feel big. And I love that, Carla. I love that imagery, thinking of you like, I am in the room. I like that. Veronica needs some organization in her life, energized for Catherine. Laurie is embracing the theme of resilience and not giving up. Yeah, so is Sandra. So yeah, the word resilient is so powerful because it can really cover a whole lot of things. We're going to take a look at those goals that we're going to set. Now, you can have 3, you can have 1. It's really what you need. I always share this page about the reminders of setting up your goals and what that could look like. We are finishing up September. Maybe you just go look at all those other goals you've had this month. Are there anything are there things that you're looking at and you're like, I really wanted to do that and I didn't get it done? Move it forward to this week and commit to it, right? But otherwise, give yourself permission to let it go. So it might be a good time to do that, kind of look back. And then, of course, we think of things like a personal challenge, a health goal. I am working really hard on my rhythms and routines this week. That's kind of my overall focus because y'all know I always say, as an educator, I was told what to do all day long with a very built-in schedule, and being retired has not been good for that. If I'm left to my own devices, and so I've fallen off of routines and rhythms. And so this week, probably this month, is going to be a really kind of big reset, really holding myself accountable to hour by hour and morning routines and evening routines. I'm really going to be writing all of that onto my pages. So that's sort of my personal challenge. And then, of course, the idea of the 3 goals. Now, hopefully you've set up, but if you haven't done the monthly setup, we have one tonight and one tomorrow night. But I always want to remind you, you said for this month, you wanted to start something and stop something and continue something. And so this is always a good look back to help you frame out what you want your weeks to look like. When I first started working on this journal, I'd make this page and I'd commit to this is what I'm going to do. And then I didn't put any action behind it to follow through. So I had this great page. I had these great intentions, but I was forgetting to incorporate it into my week to week to week. So here we are, some great examples of taking how you want to feel and bringing that down into those goals. I will go through all of these while you're working on it. There is the condiment approach, and this is the little condiments, the must-dos for mustard, the ketchup for what do you need to catch up on for ketchup? The things you may do, not pressing. So the mayo, and then giving yourself a choice of picking something kind of fun or something that will light your heart this week. So I've just been doing it. I think it's fun. It works really well in my goal setting because I am retired, so my goals are kind of fluid, and I just just want to be in a good routine. But I have some must-dos on there. It's sort of like that Eisenhower matrix. This is a good graphic. You can also use this as your to-do list and plug things in to their importance. So anyway, there's my example for this week. Those are the things I'm going to do. My May do was put out my last, a couple weeks ago was put out my fall stuff. It didn't happen last week. I put it in my must do's, and like I said, I got it done. So it's all about taking what you need. The graphic that's kind of at the bottom there's a home goal or work goal. and a personal goal, but then a little graph under like how it's going to happen and what they considered incremental steps to meeting that goal. So, for example, finish the half bath. 20% was painting part of it, and for then to consider this goal, 40% met installing the cabinets, and until 100% was touching up and being done. So she sort of broke those incremental steps out. And I thought that was a really good idea. Think about those maybe five things that you could do to where you maybe and then when you look back, you can go, I didn't meet that goal, but I got to 60% of it, and give yourself that kind of credit. So I thought that was a really neat idea. And then you may not use this for goals. You may end up repurposing this space in a variety of ways, but here you can see a couple of rhythms and routines put there. So, again, about what you need. We'll look at those to-dos. And I had mentioned this a few weeks ago, and then somebody asked about it last week, but it was time to stop the stop the social. So I discovered this because of one of y'all a million years ago, the repositional glue stick. And so what this does, it turns any piece of paper into a post-it note, your personal post-it note. So I keep a big to-do list that just has stuff on it, like, change the AC filter, which I actually did this morning. But it goes with me from month to month to month in my journal. So my kind of, the big list. And then some of these things may get pulled off into the weekly to-do list, but they're just things that are, kind of like a brain dump list. But I highly recommend this glue stick. It's pretty magical. Yes, Patricia. So here we are. So Jennifer put the Amazon link. We don't get we don't get a kickback for it. My one big influencer moment is this. The glue stick looks a little bit different now. The packaging's been redesigned, but it lasts forever, and it really is so cool. You can use this for a number of ways to make your own post-it notes for wherever you need the post-it notes. So I brought that back. And then that suggestion of keeping this big list as things come to your head. And then, thanks, Megan. And then you can, keep track of what you do, and just bring this over. And I actually think it's a really good idea for bingo boards. So, I love a bingo board. We've got it in our journal this month. I get to do that social with you, but like make a couple copies of those bingo boards because they're just fun ways to do your chores or do your goals. We have the Eisenhower matrix, which the link did not work. Okay, well, I'll go see it. Sometimes it doesn't copy and paste. Um, but I can pull it and reshare, see if it'll work from mine. But you can go to Amazon, just put Scotch repositional glue stick, and it should come up. The Pomodoro method is that time setting so that you are guided by the time. And then, when you're making your to-do list, there's the idea of making this ambitious to-do list, and you stand there like, I don't know where to start. So you could plug those things into the Eisenhower matrix, which will help you kind of look like the second graphic when you are assigning times when you're working under particular time slots in your life. Make your to-do list very practical and sustainable. If it's everywhere, like that big mess that you saw, I pull some of the things from that so that I can be more succinct, more productive. And I love this to-do list, the little graphic example there, because it starts in the morning and then moves up throughout the day. So at the end of the day, you're like da 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 da, standing on top of that mountain. Here's how our Sonder family has used this, setting it up into sections. Again, I'll go through all of these. And then I found this graphic that I thought was also that reminder of resilience. Alternatives to thinking, I didn't do anything today. Well, maybe you took time to recharge. Give yourself credit for that. Put that on a to-do list. You gave yourself a break. You allowed yourself to slow down. I think somebody a couple weeks ago said, I ended up just doing nothing. I slept in, I didn't get up. I did. Wow, good for you. You listened to your body. You took that. You did do something. We've got to remember rest is an activity, and this is the pot calling the kettle black here. Rest is an activity. So I love that alternatives to I did nothing. Celebrate those things. Okay, so this stressful day to-do list taps right back into this vagus nerve engagement idea that we worked on at the front end of our mind map this morning. So there's some more things to add to your list. Again, speaking to that rest, we've got to cover the dough and let it rest for 6 hours. Let's be the dough. And then we have our habit and activity tracker. And of course, this one is the one that can be varied because your weeks bring you different things. It's different from that monthly habit tracker that's in the front. Those are those things we want to do almost every day. This weekly tracker can be set up for what your week is bringing you. Not to say though that you can't put the same habits in both of these spaces. James Clear always reminds us, start small with your habits. So break it down into the most basic step. That first step. So if you want to read more, let's look at what that looks like in a tiny little bite. And he's saying, start by reading 2 pages every night. Don't say, I just want to read more. I'm going to read 2 pages. And then you can add to that. I want to walk 10,000 steps. Well, maybe give yourself start with, I put my walking shoes on first thing in the morning. So it's always about, those small steps. And then here's how some folks have set this space up. You can circle the days that things need to happen. The one at the bottom is that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 countdown to gamify those things that we need to do. The one on the bottom right, all of those things are, well, 4 of the 5 are pointing back to the Silk and Sonder journey. So go reminding themselves 4 times this week, I'm going to go check in with my start, stop, and continue box and see how that's going to drive my week. I'm going to journal. I'm going to do my gratitude reflection, and I'm going to do a daily ritual 3 times this week. So I love that. The one above that on the upper right, you can see the second thing is Silk and Sonder trackers, and they want to do that 7 days a week. So kind of pairing those big trackers with this weekly tracker. I've shared this one before, the idea of building systems, of course, because that's what I'm doing this week is really trying to shore up my rhythms and routines. And so I was inspired by this person, but instead of the PM systems, the nighttime systems, mine are my good morning. So by 10 o'clock, I'm doing these things. And that is what my whole habit and activity tracker is looking like. It's my morning routine. And then I love the goals. Instead of a number, it's like you really can do this. And then there's some habit ideas if you're wanting to add something new. So let's work on this page. I'll go back through all these examples and share if you're repurposing what you're doing, what are your habits and activities going to be? How are they going to support those goals? Share all the things, and then we'll move on to the second page. Veronica, thanks for sharing that. You haven't quite cracked the code on that Eisenhower matrix, the the not urgent and important. Yeah, it's kind of tricky to do that. Sometimes I have seen folks put the things that they want to stop doing in the not urgent, not important box. Like, if I want to really work on that screen time, that goes in what I need to get rid of that's standing in the way of doing some of those things. So, oh, good. I'm glad that's helpful because we do have those automatic blocks, right? Like we end up procrastinating. And so, what are those things that we're doing that we're procrastinating that could go in the that get rid of box, right? That kind of stands in your way of that. So, all righty. So we're you might still be finishing page one, but let's look at this second page while you're doing that. Got a couple of examples to show you. The one on the right, there's some really neat systems in place for the mind body health plan and the shopping list. And so I have those blown up to show you when we get to those sections. But they're going to also do poems of my life in that meal plan section. Again, using the spaces as they are, but also for what you need. Just a couple of fun examples to share with y'all. And you'll see those other graphics in a minute. So here is a great October self-care list. We love the good stuff that we can find in Instagram. So this is from an account called Positively Present. Both of these graphics are. And so these could be some really good things, good reminders to put maybe in the mind body health plan, menu plan. This page is very interchangeable as far as in my opinion, as far as the spaces go. Maybe you put your main meal of the day over in the shopping list, and then you're using the meal planner space for something like your self-care or appointments, or perhaps some journaling ideas, like some maybe, we're supposed to be getting into the cozy time. So perhaps this is the time we look into that idea of hygge that we get from our neighbors in the north about, just that slower pace of life. And so perhaps you put a hygge challenge in your journal, or you do a small journaling reflection based on something like this self-esteem journal. I've done that one so many times, just that little moment to myself. Here's again some more inspiration. You might do alliteration days or another little couple of ideas for journaling responses. And so, yeah, let's look at some examples for repurposing that meal plan. Now the second graphic there's the main meal of the day. So those are plugged in there, but this is a great space for to-do lists, for your affirmations. If you repurpose this space, drop that in the chat. Like, what do you put in the meal plan space that's not the meal plan? Affirmations, your chores, your to-dos. I like the idea of a daily creativity challenge. I got a really cute one. Look at this one. It's a doodle a day. And I put the fall scavenger hunt graphics up there that I had shared at a social earlier, like a week or two ago. And so those, I thought that would be kind of fun. Melissa uses this meal space as her calendar. Yep, the affirmations from your coaching app. Love that, Sandra. But maybe you're going to get a little creative here, like this person did. I always laugh when I put those beautiful things up because, again, I'm that black pen to paper person. But there is the dose idea of getting those good hormones saturating your brain, and some ways to do that. And I know lots of you lean into this each week, that you embrace the idea of doing things that will give you some good, healthy dopamines, not the dopamine hits that we get from mindless scrolling, but the good ones, to tap into the oxytocin and the serotonin, and finding those endorphins to saturate our brain with that good positive stuff that will help us be resilient. So there, Jennifer dropped, kind of that, what it stands for, but there are some activities that you can do to embrace those good things dumping into our system rather than the fight or flight stuff. And then you've seen most of these graphics before, the feel need check-in. Here's some self-care activities for the fall, especially if you want to embrace that idea of those good hormones. That graphic I showed you on the first page, there it is in the upper right, the mind body health plan, and there is something each day, something for the mind, something for the body. Patricia says she uses that meal plan for the top three things each day. Love that. Also on the right is that shopping list from that example I showed you. And then I wanted to share with you, there's like those little dice that says do something for you. And so I don't know if it is a daily tracking and they just track it by doing dotting it in to make it look like dice, or maybe they're actually rolling a die and they're seeing what number they land on and they go do that thing for themselves. And that's just a fun way to gamify our life, which is always so good for us. And then the HALT method. This is a good resilience technique. I shared this a couple weeks ago. Somebody used it, said they loved it. So there's that. You can read on that while we work on this page. And then finally, what are you loving right now? And so let me put on some music while we go back through those slides, grab an image that speaks to you, and then we will come back and close out our time together. As a reminder, this social, as well as 1,000 other socials, has been recorded, so you'll be able to access this today. Be sure to share your planner in Sonder Club, but also if you have an Instagram account, go post part of your setup and then tag at Silk and Sonder, because you may see your setup in the Silk and Sonder Instagram account. And Jennifer just dropped the link to our YouTube channel. Remember that personalized coaching is there and it's always being added to so you can get what you need. And then there is my playlist. Oh my gosh, my resilience playlist is full. So I'll drop that in the chat as we exit. Y'all go make it a great week. And I'll be doing the monthly setup tonight and tomorrow. So maybe I'll see you there. Thanks for joining us this morning, Sonder family.
I really hope I can do it, because they're all depending on me. I know that I must leave the only home I've ever known, and brave the dangers of the forest, saving them before they're eaten. I mean, how hard can that be? Looking up at a sunny sky so shiny and blue, and there's a butterfly. Well, isn't that a super fantastic sign? It's gonna be a fantastic day. Such marvelousness, it's gonna